first up with Kane Cornes. Thanks to Sportsbet, I'm Sarah, Olle and Kane. At Adelaide Oval, momentum was king. The Hawks and the Crows are trading blows, but the home side was the one that came out on top, and I think the one that had a little bit more composure late in that final term.
There's no doubt about that, and a little bit of brilliance as well. That
Yeah.
man, Isaac Rankin, went forward and just looked like he was going to rip the game to shreds. And these couple of touches that he had, he kicked two in the last quarter and set up Taylor Walker for his second goal, and then Tex kicked another one after that. But you're right, the composure, the brilliance, but it was about the toughness of Adelaide tonight. They're just relentless. D'Ambrosio missed that one. Adelaide just transitioned the ball from the kick out down to that moment for Taylor Walker, who iced the game. And then late, the Hawks had a couple of opportunities. They rushed them because time was a factor, and Adelaide get a much-needed win, which should lock up a top two position, potentially two home finals, and then we will see you on grand final day. That's how good they are going. There isn't a weakness in their game, and despite being challenged in the first quarter, they were far too good.
Now, just to confirm, there was no breeze at Adelaide Oval, Kane, because all the goals were going down one end. No breeze?
No breeze, like as good a conditions as you could have. So 23 goals kicked to the old scoreboard end. Amazing what was going on. Hawks jumped out of the blocks clearly, and then Adelaide responded in the second term, and that was the way that it went for the majority of the game. So no breeze, perfect conditions. It's not downhill. I don't know what was going on.
We mentioned, though, momentum swings, and they were pretty wild. I thought Jordan Dawson, though, was immense, the Crows skipper, particularly in that second term when the Crows found themselves 4 goals in arrears. He led from the front, didn't he?
4 score involvements in this term, 7 possessions, and kicked 2 big goals, 2 clutch goals. At quarter time, Matthew Nicks went over to him and spent the majority of his address just speaking to that man, Jordan Dawson. He ignored the rest of the group and just relayed his message to Dawson. So his tackling numbers this year have been extraordinary. He's been as good a captain as we have in the game, and is playing a really selfless team first game. But when he needed to step up tonight in that second term, he was the one that got them going.
Absolutely. When it came to Hawthorn, though, Kane, we got a look for the first time at the 4 tall forwards. What did you make of their evening? Of course, Jack Gunston starred with 4 goals, and in the end, it was Kel Shadir subbed out of the match.
Yeah, so it didn't work, did it? And I'd be surprised if they go there again. Early on, it looked dangerous. Like, they all had their moments early on. That was because Hawthorn were dominating the game and they had a number of entries. There's Deer getting subbed out. He was the unlucky one. I don't think that means he's going to be the one that misses next week. They got a really tough 3 weeks, Hawthorn, as tough as it gets. And I just think it's going to be one of Lewis, Chol, and Deer clearly. Chol, the advantage is that he can second ruck, so that's the reason he probably stayed on the ground tonight. But I don't think it's a lock that Mabior Chol is selected next week. I didn't think he was great tonight, and Deer was really good the previous week. So it's a tough decision, but yeah, they won't wheel out 4 tall forwards again next week.
No, there's no time to really get all that cute because you mentioned the run home, and this is how it looks. It is tough. Collingwood at the MCG would expect them to defeat Melbourne, and then it all comes to the Gabba in round 24 with Brisbane. Are you a ladder predictor kind of guy? Because I'm a ladder predictor kind of girl, and it's not looking great for the Hawks.
You think you've got them squeezed out, do you?
Just. Of course, I can't predict all the results, but I think it's going to be tough from here.
Yeah, it's absolutely going to be tough. Look, 2 out of 3 is the equation for them, and one of those 2 is against a really good team. And I just hope they don't leave it into the last game, or maybe we do. Maybe that's what the AFL want, that Hawthorn-Brisbane game in round 24. There's a couple of those, the Bulldogs and Fremantle round 24, also really interesting and season-defining. But, gee, they'd be unlucky to miss. They were really good tonight. They were really good away from home. Clearly, Will Day's banged up. Second game back, he couldn't finish the game. We'll get to that shortly. No, Weddle hurts them, but they played such a strong brand of football. Behind the ball, they were amazing. Their defence is really rock solid now. Sicily's back in form. Barris and Battle are doing what they're being paid to do and recruited for. And then forward of the ball, they're dangerous. So it's just the midfield that's an issue for them at the moment.
Time now for Volcano.
Yeah, so we saw in the last quarter the umpires stop play because Will Day was 60 metres off the ball cramping. Now, what are we doing? What are we doing stopping the game for a player with cramp? Football is about the toughest, hardest, fittest team wins, and we are giving a team an advantage because one of their players is underprepared and can't get through. So what happens if this is a big final and a player decides to do this strategically? They need to make a rotation, for example. Well, we can't get a rotation. Let's just fake someone with cramp, and we know that the umpires will stop it. We can get the rotation, and then we can also organise our defence or our extra, our spare behind the ball, and we can slow the momentum of the game. This is so open for exploitation. It is not funny. This is a loophole that's got to be solved this week. I get it. If a player's got a head knock and he's in the vicinity of the footy, stop the game. Understand that. But we're not stopping the game for cramp, are we? At a critical stage of it. So this has gone too far and one that the AFL needs to address, and I would assume address this week.
Yeah, so you want a statement, I presume it would be from Greg Swan, the AFL's new head of football performance, because he's spoken about the game lengths, that it's too long. And I guess this falls into that category, doesn't it? Just chewing up more and more time.
Yeah, I'm worried about teams exploiting it in a big final. Like this is something you definitely have up your back, up your sleeve to go. Okay, well, say if the opposition kicked three in a row in the last quarter and we're down by 5 points, let's have someone fake it. We can get a message out from the interchange bench. We can organise which players we want on the ground, get our rotations right, and set up the field exactly like we want, and stop the game for 40 seconds. That's what will happen in a big game unless the AFL do something about it. So that comical scenes at the Adelaide Oval tonight, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's a bit more of a round ball tactic, I would have thought, and not one we see all that often. But on Thursday night at Marvel Stadium, we were expecting a contest like this evening, but unfortunately it was one-way traffic. The Dogs absolutely steamrolling the Giants to the tune of 88 points. And it was the twin towers of Sam Darcy and Aaron Norton. They were on absolute fire, as they have been since round 14 when Darcy came back into the side. I mean, look at those numbers there, Kane. Aaron Norton must be licking his lips to get the second best defender every week.
Well, he should be buying the coffees. That's what should be
Shouldn't he?
happening, because Aaron Norton was nowhere near this player when he was on his own as the key forward for the Western Bulldogs, and he's got a great role now for the rest of his career to be alongside this guy where all the attention goes. But he's living up to his end of the bargain. He's kicking really accurately. He's sorted that aspect out of his game. He's attacking the contest and really working pretty hard, Aaron Norton. So it's a credit to him for turning what was a poor season around into a very effective season and a big weapon for the Dogs. And the way that they also pushed Tim English forward as well. But it was zero resistance from the Giants, a really disappointing performance, albeit they've been up for a long time. But you can't start like that. It was obvious to everyone watching that game closely last night that this game was over in the first 10 minutes, and that's just not good enough.
When Darcy came back into the Bulldogs side in round 14 from that knee injury, his coach Luke Beveridge put on the agenda that the umpires need to look out for the free kicks that are there for his 208 centimetre forward. Do you think there's been an overcorrection since then, Kane?
I think there's been a major overcorrection, but not just with Darcy. I think whenever a coach puts a player on the agenda, there's an overreaction. So this one here, what's the free kick for? Why? How's that a free kick? What is Sam Taylor done wrong there? So we have to make it an even playing field for our defenders and the forwards. Yep, I get it. If you're holding, if you're scragging, if you're chopping arm, then pay the free kick. But what's that? What's that? Is that just because Luke Beveridge put it on the agenda that it's in the umpires' minds and they're watching way too closely, the off-the-ball umpires? And there's the numbers. I get he's going to get a few extra free kicks because of the trouble with his frame and defenders panicking, but that's a lot. That's a lot of free kicks, and I've just got that on watch of the overreaction from our umpires off the back of Luke's comments.
Is it possible that it's not an overcorrection, but just a correction? I get the free kick that you were showing there. It's iffy at best, but I think most of them are there. I mean, he is just so tall when he is marking the ball at that highest point. I mean, Sam Taylor's one of the best defenders in the league, and he was nowhere near it.
No, he wasn't. And I'm not denying his brilliance and how good he is and what a dominant force he is. I'm not. I do think he's very clever at the way he sort of awkwardly moves his body in the air, which sometimes make it look like he's been scragged when he's actually not. Dawson from the Kangaroos played him beautifully. And there was a big hysteria after that game that there should have been free kicks for tunnelling. There was no free kicks for tunnelling. He just played it really, really well. So I just hope we give the defenders a chance, because there's not much they can do now in 2025.
You mentioned Tim English before, the big ruckman, and how he pushed forward to create another target in attack. He gave Lord Kieran Briggs a big bath, Tim English. My question to you, though, Kane, is why don't we see more of this from English? He was clearly in a mood, but how do the Dogs distill that and get him to produce it, particularly in a big final series?
It's a good question, and it's a fair question to ask Tim, because his best footy, what is it? He'd be a top 3 ruckman in the league, but too often he doesn't do it consistently enough. I think he was given a license, though. They go, well, we've got all the focus on Norton and Darcy. You may be able to sneak forward and get a mismatch on a smaller, in terms of height, ruckman in Briggs, and he did that. 5 forward 50 marks for Tim English, and gee whiz, that's a avenue that they can go to goal that isn't as conventional, but will catch the opposition off guard because of the focus on Norton to Darcy. So well done. He's the best player on the ground, and he's getting himself into good form ahead of a potential final series for the Dogs.
Would you trust him in a big final to stand up?
Probably not, but he doesn't need to play to that level, but he just needs to compete, and he can't get monstered. So he's going to come up against some big, towering ruckmen, sometimes two maybe, and even in round 24 with Jackson and Darcy. So that'll be a challenge for him. He's just got to compete, because often, the contest side of his game goes missing in big games. But credit to him. I think his last 6 weeks has been pretty strong.
A player who couldn't compete on Thursday night at Marvel Stadium was the Giants skipper, Toby Green. I mean, these aren't great scenes, are they? He's struggling to watch his side losing, and he can't do anything because he's suspended.
What a horrible feeling for Toby, and one that he's brought upon himself. Now, he would have known the cameras were on him all night. Now, would he have been the difference in that result? No. But would they have started as poorly with him in the side? Would he have been the one that got them going? Probably. So it's a big absence. He chucked that Buckley and Kelly alongside of him. So just not good enough from Toby. He would know that. He's been in this position before and has been able to, stay on the right path for a fair amount of time, but he let his emotions get the better of him last week, and it cost his side dearly.
More generally, are you worried about some of the Giants' leaders and the vacuum almost of leadership when it comes to Adam Kingsley's side? Are you worried that some of these senior players are potentially letting down the Orange Tsunami?
Yeah, a little bit. I am. I think Tom Green's been enormous. Not as good, clearly, on Thursday night. But there's the drop off from a couple of the leaders that you're speaking about. Toby hasn't had the back end of the season that he would have liked. Whitfield's the one that I'm really interested in. I thought his ball use was really poor, and he coughed the footy up far too often, and his contest wasn't strong enough. And then Hogan's just banged up, isn't he? Like, Hogan is in the grass cats. He's got the sore foot, and his body language is awful. And Adam Kingsley said after the game that he probably won't play this week. So there may be the reason that Jesse's form has dropped off, but I think his body language has been an issue as well.
Now, it's just Friday night, so we've only got 2 games to cover, but we've got some big matches coming up on Saturday and a lot of intrigue around the D's and the Eagles at Marvel Stadium, Kane. Should Melbourne capitulate and lose to this side that's only won 1 game this season? Could it be curtains for coach Simon Goodwin?
Probably, yeah, probably. It may be anyway at the end of the year, but this may be brought forward if they were to inexplicably lose without Harley Reid. I don't think that's realistic, but just worst case scenario, yes. I think on Monday would be a pretty devastating day for Simon Goodwin if they happen to drop this one after what happened last week.
We've got Gold Coast and Richmond and the Swans and the Bombers. But the one I've got my pencil around circling is Collingwood and Brisbane at the MCG. Is this potentially, Kane, a grand final preview?
Could be, although what I saw tonight at the Adelaide Oval from Adelaide, I'd be tipping them to be there off the back of 2 home finals. So this may be the second spot in the grand final. And what will the response be from Brisbane? That's what I think. It'll be a strong one. Their midfield was smacked last week. Good sides respond. There's no issues with the MCG anymore for Brisbane like there was a couple of seasons ago. They don't worry about that. So I think this is a great opportunity to get a big scout for Chris Fagan. And I suspect they might. I just think the talent in that lineup, if they get their game going, they're going to cause some headaches for Collingwood and Craig McRae.
Time now for the temperature test, thanks to Sportsbet. And there's not going to be too much movement here, given that we've only had the 2 games. But just with the Giants, Kane, you've still got them simmering after this 88-point loss. Do you think a loss of this magnitude so close to finals, can Adam Kingsley's side still be considered a contender?
Well, it's a strange and unusual season. Would you say the same about Brisbane last week? What was that? That was 10 goals.
66
And
points,
I don't
yep.
think, I don't think anyone's going to write Brisbane off after one of those performances. And the Giants have been up for a long period of time. They spoke about that after the game. Now, that's not giving them an excuse. That's just the reality. Do I have them playing in a prelim final? No. But do I have them on that second line with everyone else? I still do. And I haven't lost a whole lot of faith because of what I saw the previous week and at stages throughout the year. Their best is still very, very good.
Now, Kane, there's a rumour going around in this building that on Sunday you've got something else to do, perhaps present an award. Is that correct?
Yeah, sorry. Apologies that I've kept you up late on.
No,
Friday
you're
night.
fine.
That is my bad. But you can have your Sunday afternoon off.
Looking
Sarah,
forward to
that's
it.
good.
All right, this has been First Up with Kane Cornes. Thanks to Sportsbet.
What's gambling really costing you? For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.